Okay, recording. Cat. I don't know about the cat here. Is this gonna work out? I don't know. Take one. Cat in my face. I guess I have cats for the same reason I make these videos. I'm not sure why this cat is so high-strung. My other one is a lot more easygoing. You can see her following the pointer. Anyway, enough of this distraction. Where are we? Where is this? We're gonna find out. I thank you for being here this week. Okay, this was shared by Sir Marticus, and he made a fine video on the topic, and today I shall make a video on the topic. Chartreux. So, this video is brought to you by me and Martin. Check out his channel, Martin Liedtke. And today, once I get this cat off my desk, we're gonna check out these old engravings from the 1600s. Ah, the 1600s. What a fine time to be alive. And I guess it depends on who you ask. Okay, I don't know. She's just had a surgery, but she doesn't seem bothered. It is past their bedtime. Okay. I think I'm gonna hold off on the rant if I can. Today we're gonna look at one of the most famous abandoned cities in the world. I thank you all for being here. I love you all. God bless and welcome. Okay, where are we? I want to thank Martin Liedtke for sharing this link, sometimes known as Sir Marticus. I think this community has made incredible discoveries over the past, I don't know what now, 7 years, maybe 8, and after a while, it became overbearing, and I realized that if I was going to continue making videos on this subject, I would have to restrict the amount of content I consume. I say this for no other reason than the struggles of an artist. It's just an inspiration thing. It's an art thing. Now, when I owned my coffee shop, it was different. I was always excited to experience another coffee shop's goods. And I say it's different in business because if I make a latte, it's gonna be the same latte, or at least you hope it will be as a customer. And as a good business owner, it's the same. You strive for consistency. And when you're first creating a business, it's very much like art, a lot of experimenting, and then eventually you dial it in and nothing changes, and you long for something different. But when pursuing creative endeavors, it doesn't quite work this way. This book is brand new to me, as I'm sure it is to you today, and that's exciting. Really, the idea behind this research is that perfect cities existed as far back as our timeline goes, before Christ. Of course, most of us understood this as children when we were introduced to the pyramids. We were all given vague stories on how they were constructed, and most of us questioned this, at least within. But then you continue to peel away at the onion closer to our timeline, and we see the same thing. Ruins of what was clearly once great civilizations, and poor explanations to how this was all possible in these early time periods, and poor explanations as to why the cities fell into disrepair. And here we have this book of this city. What city is this? We can see this is essentially a very early bird's eye view type map. As I've discussed in past videos, we learned in San Diego, California, upon its creation, that ownership of land and property in general, including buildings, was conveyed by map. And that's why these bird's eye views always have numbers, oftentimes a stamp, as we see down here in the corner. This is official. This is somebody's inheritance. And I believe up here it says the Gardens of Rome. And this is just a little taste of old Rome, almost having a futuristic feel. Not only these grounds and the architecture, but even the drawings. Unbelievable art here, really. Could have been done hundreds, thousands thousands of different ways. And this is a beautiful depiction. Again, these are engravings, and I don't know, really, really perfect. Whether it was engraved or sketched, really impressive artistry. And so many clues left. For instance, we can see the whole right side of these gardens in ruins. Like a whole city has crumbled right here. Arched buildings. And again, the 1600s. We can see the horse-drawn wagons and this unbelievable city just towering, completely built out, underground sections, concrete everywhere. And here we can see another bird's eye view. Massive cathedral, the detail, the intricacy, the massive wall around this garden, castle wall. And on my channel, you've seen me discuss the grids, the lines that span across the entire realm, found in deserts, sometimes in forests, everywhere, in the water. And here we have an idea of what these patterns may be. These patterns can be found in Peru, zigzagging across the desert, sometimes shaped like animals, sometimes circuitry, like we see here. 1600s. Unbelievable. The gardens. And let's look at one more. I mean, who is cultivating the land like this? Building water features and aqueducts and giant walls. What is all of this for? Again, just to build a wall. These people, these means. And yet all this, the buildings, the gardens, so mature, so perfect. So going back to school, I think it was very important not to discuss the past in any critical way. I mean, school was not designed to teach critical thinking, but rather the absolute opposite. No thinking, only reciting what you have been told, and if you recite it perfectly, you receive a passing grade. And then if people do move through this curriculum, advance to higher levels, they soon learn that their research will not be funded unless it conforms with the agreed upon history presented by the major universities. You might wonder why they set up shops outdoors like this. Meat and spices. Why the swap meet when you have a building like this? Is that what it comes down to? Why these cheap shutters instead of the original windows? These all have simple answers. Let's start with the flea market down here. You always see this, and I always comment on the cheap awnings. And this photo is from like the 1800s, whenever we have cameras available, at least to some. They're setting up the market outside because they have sunlight. There's no market in the evening because there is no light other than candles in this time period. We do see some gas lights, such as right here, and a little gas pipe, but this is a luxury. Most of these buildings will be dark and either too cold or too hot. It's not like a regular department store where there's 10,000 lights overhead. This building will be completely dark inside, especially where they've bricked up most of the windows. And now the shutters. Why the cheap wooden shutters? Nobody down here is selling glass, especially a glass window custom to fit an opening like this. So this is the standard in this time period. A small cheap shutter, perhaps a small window behind it, as we can see here, but not originally made for this building. All afterthoughts. Here we see an Egyptian obelisk. It looks like it has hieroglyphs on it. And here's the condition of the town. It looks like brick streets, millions of bricks, but yet everything is completely abandoned. A few people straggling around here and there, occupying these abandoned city streets. And here, thank God, someone, for whatever reason, waltzes into this city with a camera. And much of this still remains today. It has been cleaned up, and the streets are now bustling, and tourists visit these sites and are given stupid narratives for how all this came to be. And yet when we look at illustrations from this time period, from this city, It almost seems like science fiction. I mean, what is this world? These are again engravings, we're told. We can see some pyramids in the background here. And what is all of this? Is this just someone's imagination? And this guy, Giovanni Battista, is an Italian artist and architect, famous for his detailed etchings of Rome and imaginary prisons. His dramatic style influenced both Romanticism and modern architecture. So they're telling us that these are imaginary drawings, and that these imaginary drawings influenced modern architecture. And I don't know, it looks awfully similar to a lot of the things we see today. Pyramids, obelisks, grand buildings that may have simply been decapitated to suit the modern occupants, and also to erase history. I mean, when we look at the photographs, we see abandoned cities. Abandoned cities, completely built out, mostly made of concrete and brick and terracotta. And for the rest of the video, we'll have a little look at Martin's video. Okay, here we are. Photographs of Rome in 1859. Again, we can see boarded up windows, old concrete, and these rings, as if a mold was used. Of course it would have to be. We can see some of the detail on this concrete that is absolutely superior, like stone. Imposing columns, and we can see evidence of steel and rebar. What happened to this building? I mean, how do you just chop columns like this? And where did they go? Where's the rest of the building? Here we can see archways going under the street. Here again, some detail. A lot of water and heat. It's unbelievable craftsmanship, and the condition doesn't make any sense. Like this huge gap in time. The ruins that we're seeing here are more advanced than anything we build today. This I promise you. And in my past video, we discussed an old map in the 1500s of North America, and there were notations on the map talking about a Native American people living in stone and concrete structured cities. And it's so perfect. It's not just like a ruin of a primitive people. These are not just artistically superior to anything we build today, but of exceptional materials. Brick and concrete, even the facading, the detail around the door. And they talk about the fall of the Roman Empire, but I don't think so. This is not evidence of a people that fell, but evidence of a people that were destroyed, either by natural events or war or something of the likes. And this may be what the World's Fairs used to look like. This may be the condition that every courthouse, cathedral, and capitol building was found in. If you remember at the World's Fair, we're told they covered everything with a white plaster and paint, and oftentimes the windows were even painted. And this is supposed to be some of the oldest, again, the Roman Empire. And just the ruins are exceptional. They could survive another 500 years, just in their ruined state. And here we go. Here's our first man in a while. Hello. What are you doing today? Oh, I'm drying the sheets. A great place to dry your sheets. You may as well. Nobody around to care. What would the builders of this think if they could see what had come of their glorious works? And this man, why so sad, guy? Oh, I'm lonely. There's nobody around to talk to. And it does seem like a lonely scene. One could essentially inherit any of these buildings. But who would want to? I think that the greatest part of life is sharing it. If there were no people, there'd be no reason to share anything. There would be no reason to make this video. And maybe that's the meaning of life. Maybe that's all that really matters. I've reached the point in my life where I really don't want to accumulate any more possessions. I don't have many. Mostly just house things. I think I'll spend the rest of my life getting rid of my things. So I don't think I have anything else to say. If this is the first great civilization, and they didn't make it, what can be said of ours? Where are we heading? If we can be sat down in schools and taught that Rome was a bunch of sandal-wearing, backwards people, and we can't even replicate half of what they did in our time period, I would say there's very little hope for our civilization. No doubt a temporary and disposable chapter of history. I don't think anything has progressed since this time period. Maybe the understanding of the bigger picture, such as what we research in this community, but really no closer to building or existing in what seems to have been such a harmonious society. So for this week, I thank you for joining me. I love you all. God bless, and I'll see you in the next one.